So, hi and welcome to the next episode of Dish. I'm kind of going to go around and introduce the cast and then we can go straight into the topic. So we'll start from this end.
Hi, I'm Joel. I work in advertising. I'm from up north, from Bradford, been in London for 2.5 years now. I think that's me.
Hi, I'm Eche. I'm a teacher. I work with special needs children. I'm based in Hackney. Been there 23 years. Yeah, that's me.
Hi, I'm Shanice. I'm from Birmingham, Ripping. I work in advertising and sort of media. That's me.
What's going on? I'm Kira. I work with young people with special and complex needs, and I guess I'm like a all-round creative. Is that fair?
Yes. I'm Richie. I kind of do community intervention work and I'm a presenter.
Nice. And I'm Bilal and I work in youth empowerment work.
Great. So, this episode, as you know, is about kind of like, is being woke a burden? I feel like this is kind of like personal to me, but kind of before we go into it, what is being woke? Or what is wokeness? I feel like we start with there. That would be great. I think, is it political? Is it social? Or is it kind of like personal? Like, I think there's different definitions. And we probably have all coming from different places. Like, you can jump in here. What do you think wokeness is?
I think it's like a really sick word, saying aware. Because really, being woke to me is being aware. Like, you have to be socially aware, culturally aware, politically aware, all of those things. But obviously black culture is lit, so because I think it comes from black culture.
Yeah, is it a black thing?
I think
Is it a people of colour thing or is it a black thing?
No, I definitely think it's a black thing. Okay. I definitely think it's a black thing. And it derives from black culture. So I feel like they've just put a spin on it and it's just woke.
I think, the first thing that comes to mind when I think woke is being just aware, like, you're kind of less ignorant kind of thing. And it, to me, it's like a follow-up from consciousness. Like, I think in my parents' age, it was conscious, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the Rasta type of thing, that's where it was, and we just moved to woke. Because maybe you don't want an affiliation to a certain ideology, or, it's a bit more broad, but I think face value is just being aware of what's behind what we are fed.
I think I like what you said about the consciousness part, but I see it as like the same strand of thought, but without the spirituality. So it's like being more aware of social injustice. And to me, I think I want to go back to what you said about it's been co-opted, right? I think the word woke is obviously, like many words, changed over time. Right now, does it mean the same thing as when people first started using it? I don't know. I don't think people are using it in the same way that they first began using it. I think after a little bit of time, being woke started becoming like a joke, like stay woke. And there was like people saying stay woke about pointless things. Whereas at the beginning, I think it was actually a word that was quite powerful.
It's interesting because like Eric Badu had a song, Master Teachers, right? And the chorus was like, I stay woke. Right. And then now you look at it like the Times had an article like, Frank Ocean's new album's coming out, stay woke. And it's just, and I think it's that thing, right? It's like they think it's now stay alert or something, and that's it. And it's not that.
It's like, no, that's not what it means. Right?
Exactly.
Does it mean different things though? Like to white people or people of colour and to black people? Like, are we all working in different spaces?
I was going to say something, like controversially, just to go back, it's a term that I have real cognitive dissonance about because on one hand, like you were saying, it's a sick word. I love what it represents, but on the other hand, and maybe it's the way it's used, it almost feels so egotistical. Like people use this term, well, I'm awake and you're asleep, and I'm just saying, like, if we're trying to empower and uplift everybody, if I'm saying I'm woke and that's something you're not, then really what am I saying? I'm placing a judgment on you already. So it's like, it's a term that I think is amazing and there's a part of me that absolutely loves it. But, my dissonance is, there's bits about it that I hate. Like, what it infers sometimes is a problem to me. It's almost like I'm more superior to you, I'm awake. Like, you don't know what's going on around you, you're sleeping. So yeah, I've got two feelings about it.
I guess for me, what's interesting is the whole awareness, and there has to be levels of awareness.
Yeah.
So for me, it's interesting because 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago, I was working on a project, Young Black Men's Project, and I was reading, studying, and absorbing information, right? And this topic is about it being a burden. And something interesting happened in that year. I had a manic episode. So I just had this energy. I ended up getting sectioned. But for me, I think it was almost a perfect storm of things that was happening. And I find it particularly interesting that as I was increasing in consciousness, and there came almost a hatred or this kind of passion to rectify things. And I find it interesting that it was during that particular role of all roles where it happened. And I remember I had a website and it was like, woke, he was just trying to convert information and spread that. And I guess the closest thing that comes to mind is almost a matrix type of thing. Wake people up from what is happening, the illusion. For me, that's the closest thing to kind of encapsulate it. But then in terms of it meaning different things to different people, and I guess mainstream entities taking a hold of it. But I guess then for me, what I want to raise is in terms of, we mentioned earlier, oh, is it a black thing? Is it, there was an article that I read talking about it's been appropriated. I'm like, and that doesn't really resonate well with me because at the end of the day, it's a word. And as you mentioned previously, before people were saying woke, it was the same word, it was almost conscious. So now it's interesting to see, I guess, is it a case of our generation, this kind of millennial generation that has came about? But what are your thoughts in that regard?
You wanna go? Go. I feel like we're gonna make the same way.
I feel like, you know, it's so interesting that, like, okay, you said so many things there. I was like, it's true. But I feel like people say things with intent, right? Like, and you can never really, well, obviously people assume people's intent, but you can never really tell someone what their intention is unless they tell you what their intention is. And I think a lot of the time, like, I remember being at work one time and I was reading a article about the word woke, and it was in like a very mainstream sort of, I'd say, middle class women's magazine, and they were trying to educate those women, I suppose, their target audience.
Like a white middle class?
Like white middle class.
That was the target audience.
That was like their target audience. That's how I'd say their target audience. But I wouldn't say only white middle class women, really, because obviously I was. So and at that point, I felt like it was being appropriated. I was a little bit angry, in fact, because I was thinking, are you like being serious? Like, you're trying to say, oh, let me give you the breakdown on what woke means. Yeah, like so this is when you can use it and this is when you can't. And it's like, for me, not that I can say to this, like, this is your intent, this is da-da-da-da-da, but for me the intent behind that was to sort of try and explain something that you have no clue about. And for me, that was a problem. But then at the same time, when I see like sort of, I don't know, let's say young black brothers using the word woke, and even though they may not understand it in its full verse of, you know, staying woke and being aware of everything that's going on around them, I feel like they're trying to push out a sort of message that has the right intention, although it's not always used in the right manner. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like there are some people that are like, stay woke, like Trank Ocean's coming, like kind of thing. And you get it.
There's no sorting that for
yeah, like it's banter and stuff like that.
Go tell me.
Stay woke, like. But then there are some people sometimes that use it, and I feel like, okay, I don't know if you should use it like that, but I hear what you're saying. Like, I get it. So I'm not going to be angry at that. So I feel like there's just sort of, there's times where to put your energy and where not to. Like, in that moment, reading that article, my energy was fine. I was thinking, nah, this is not lit. But then when I see the sort of Twitter massa with people, I don't really put that much energy into it because I feel like I get it, but it's not there yet, but it's cool. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like it's really important to always stay aware of people's intent, or try to be as conscious again about people's intent behind using certain words or saying certain things, or again putting out a certain image and things like that. I think it's really important.
To to me, I think we've kind of, as much as it's true, yes, maybe the original intent of the word was specifically about, consciousness politically and culturally and things like that. And it has grown, and I think sometimes we kind of take claim of things and kind of get angry about things that don't really, that's not the issue. We're aware, we're aware of these things are happening, but being aware doesn't necessarily change that much. And I think what's happened is being woke or conscious and then actually being an activist or actually doing anything. Sometimes people kind of go on they're the same thing. They're not the same thing. I can be aware and not be an activist. I can share my opinion on something and have a really strong, valued opinion that a lot of people agree with, but still be doing nothing. You know what I mean? It's we're so caught up. Well, this is our word and this is what it means. Let them have it. Do something.
And that's the thing.
You know what I mean?
And I think as words become trendy and popular and sometimes misused, they do start to become passive. Yeah. And even before this, I was looking at what does woke mean, and everyone's awareness, and I'm but what do you do with that, right? Yeah. Because it's you have tons of celebrities that try to protest and make a statement, and they're oh, they're woke, and then sometimes we'll look at I guess some people that are white and go, guys, they're not woke, they're not about the struggle, and I'm but what are we doing? Are we just complaining about them? Are we trying to change things, right? Because I guess the field that I work in is very white middle class, and they slip up a lot of times with what they say, and there's a lot of microaggressions at work. But I have to educate them. That's the thing, right?
Do you?
I feel
is it a responsibility? I find kind of bringing it back to the key question, which is it a burden? I think one of the reasons why I kind of came up with this topic or what I wanted to talk through was there's been incidents at work, I would say, not necessarily where I currently am, but just during my working life, where maybe white people, but I will go and say other people of colour, I'd say step out of line. And then I'm okay, well, do I need to do this? And then there's the whole issue of, okay, do I want to be the angry black woman? Do I have to be angry? If I say anything, am I being angry? I feel there's a lot to unpack there. And then sometimes I just think, I don't have the time to deal with this right now. So it's not even that I'm not woke or they not woke or whatever. I just feel it feels like a responsibility for me when people think of being woke, whether it be in the political sphere or the social sphere or online or wherever. That's why I think for me sometimes it can feel like a burden, but that's just me. I don't know.
I think something you said earlier on was an excellent point, right? And that's in order to be woke and be aware, it's about consuming information. And I think sometimes we overlook the impacts that consuming information can have on your mental health. If you're just consuming information, and it makes you question, it gets to the point where you start to question reality. And when you start to feel disjointed from reality, it can really have an impact on your mental health. And what your view of reality is. I can't speak for your lived experience, but something that you said really resonated with me, and it's when you start to realise what's going on around you and the way society's set up, it can make you extremely paranoid of anyone who comes around you who's not black, because you do get to the point where you think, okay, you're saying this to me, but what's the intention behind what you're saying? Then you look at the government and you see what the government are doing and how they're targeting the black community. And then you look at institutional racism, and then you look at microaggressions, and it gets to the point where it feels like it's around you. Everywhere you go, it feels like it's there. That's going to have a huge impact on your mental health, especially when you're a black person living in a place like Britain. So when we're talking about burden, I don't just think it's about, being woke or being aware makes me tired. Sometimes being woke makes me depressed. Being woke can make me manic. Being woke can make me feel like I've got no support. Being woke can make me feel like I'm being constantly attacked. I think when it comes to burdens, these aren't just small, I'm tired day to day. These can be massive impacts on just my lived experience in general. To the point where some days I might even want to get out of my bed.
It's interesting because so you mentioned that in your workplace, it's a very white space where sometimes you feel like it is up to you to challenge when people are saying things wrong, right? I'm kind of the opposite. So my workspace is like a really white place.
Yeah.
But people there would all identify under this label as being woke, right? I work in like the charitable sector. It's about youth empowerment. People who want to change the world. They want to see things. Yeah, they want to see things differently. Everyone's a lefty. Like everyone sees the world in like this happy place where we all need to fight injustice. The answer that to me, I was talking to people at work about this today, and everyone's like, "Of course it's a burden. Like you got to be burdened. You got to carry this load of being woke." But then I was like, "But hang on." But most of the time when we sit as an office or we sit as a team, we're not discussing all these injustices and all the problems in the world. People feel empowered afterwards. And what you were saying about your mental health and feeling depressed, yeah, I think 100%. If you're feeling woke but being alone and you have no one to talk to about what you're seeing, what you're going through, of course it can have an impact on your mental health. For me, I kind of feel that because of the circle I'm around, where I can talk to people, be like, did you see that thing on TV? Did you hear what so-and-so said? Did you see that tweet? And everyone else kind of knows what I'm talking about when I'm speaking about injustice. We're almost feeding into each other, and you've got a support network.
I've got that network, but still sometimes I'm fuming.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're collectively fuming and feeling alone. It's that I was born here, I live here, I'm British, but you're making me feel like a stranger in a place that I was born, and that my ancestors helped to build. You built this country off the back of enslaving my ancestors, and then you're telling me I can't be here, or you're setting up institutions that make me feel like I'm some sort of alien. Like, you know, that kind of thing. So I hear what you mean in terms of like having that support network. I feel like I'm talking a lot, but having that support network, but you can still feel ostracized. It's just the impact it can have on you. Do you know what I mean?
I think where the I don't know, the burden comes to me. It's like having to defend your thoughts, because as if we said, you know, it's just about acknowledging it's the truth. Like the things that we are aware of. Don't tell me it's a lie. It's not a lie. These things, these institutions, these microaggressions. I'm not trying to defend it. And when some of the issue comes is when we have to defend it, or we feel like I have to prove to you that this is right, this is really happening. And we spend all of our energy trying to change people's minds. Like, I'm not crazy, this is true, this is really happening. And when I decided, I'm like, I don't need to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to. If you don't get it, that's cool, because what I think there should be more burden is the burden should urge us to do something rather than the burden. It just kind of keeps us looking and thinking, this is the state I'm in. These are the barriers that I'm facing. And we kind of get stuck there and lost in the trap that we are in, which is reality. But if the burden spurred us on, and that burden was so great that we actually changed where we're spending our money, or changed the conversations we had, or the things that we all know we should be doing, I don't know, maybe it's not a burden enough, but I think we talk a lot, or we have hashtags and we say stay woke or wear a t-shirt, but it's not really doing that.
I think it's interesting because I have situations where I don't feel like it's a burden and it's empowering, and then I have situations where I do feel like a burden. I do feel like it's a burden. So, like for me, where I work now in the industry, it's always been a big thing, like diversity, right? And it was always a burden when nothing was happening, because you always hear them talk about it like it's a beauty pageant where they say world peace, everyone claps and then they win an award, right? But then it's got to a point where things are starting to happen and they're looking to me and being like, what do you think we should do? And because I have some ideas and because I've been aware of the situation and what's been happening, I have a support network and I have a voice. There's other times, like for example, where something like the H&M ad comes out, something like that, and all your friends who probably are maybe not white go, but Joel, what do you think? I just don't think it was that bad. But like, it's every one of your friends asking you, and it's like they're waiting for confirmation from you that it was okay, or they want to see you argue it, and it gets to a point where I'm like,
can I go into H&M or not?
It's an interesting one. Someone said to me, they were like, So yeah, all the black people are going to be back shopping at H&M by January 31st. And I was like, wait, was I supposed to boycott? Like, I was actually waiting for a moment. I was like, sorry, was I supposed to do that? And I was just, am I woke? Am I woken up? And I was like, it's an odd place to be in.
It's almost like there's like a competition to being woke, right? It's like, how woke? There's a level of wokeness. And you see it on social media where it's like, I'm more woke than you.
I feel like the level of wokeness that is like the highest is like the vegan, natural. Like not even just vegan, like raw. And if you're not, I don't feel like you've created a charity and you're out there giving money to, Jamaica, Africa, you're actually out there. That's the level. Like you've read all the books. That's what you're meant to get to. You're not going up there. And this is all, to me, just based on social media. I don't know none of these people. They could be at home doing jack shit.
That's a very fascinating point, because in the age that we're in, the information is everywhere. And if you go on YouTube and you go down a particular pathway, you go down one particular rabbit hole, and that is your reality. But what I find interesting, though, is because, let's say we're talking about political truth. The problem that being woke has is that if let's say you move from the left side of the spectrum to the right, when you will maybe in your eyes feel that, whoa, this is the truth. What I was seeing was a lie. So what I find interesting is the political diversity. Is it almost a kind of hive mind, or are people on maybe the right side of the spectrum, can they be woke as well? And there was a case in the States. This is probably someone that was too woke. I don't know if you've seen the video, but there was a mixed race guy with dreads, and they were on a university campus. And she confronted the guy saying, why are you wearing these dreads? This is Egypt or wherever, she said like that. And to the point where she wouldn't let the guy move where he was going. And she made a comment about, have you got scissors, to the guy that was next. I'm like, what's happening here? She was accusing him of appropriating the dreads, and someone had it on video because she was quite aggressive in her demeanor. And the guy was like, listen, it's my hair, like I'm trying to bounce type of thing. And for me, watching that situation, that's someone being too woke. Like you're trying to now impinge on somebody else's freedom based on something that you might have read, which is not necessarily the full truth.
Is that just a misunderstanding though? Is that like when people take a term, they're like, okay, I've got this new label now, I'm woke, let me live in my full wokeness. But they're walking around with like a complete lack of understanding of what they should be challenging.
Well, yeah,
are you challenging the system, or are you challenging like one individual person right now?
That's it. Because in that, all I see is pure entitlement. Like, who are you? Like, who are you? Like, in front of, are you God? Because that's the only person that can come down and tell me that I'm not allowed to wear these. And whether I'm black, white, mixed race, whatever, anything that I make a decision to do for myself is something that I do for myself. So I feel like a lot of the times when you talk about how this is natural, and like all of this, it's like sometimes they feel like because I'm doing it, you need to too. But it's like, no, but that's your decision.
Yeah.
That's a decision that you made by yourself, or probably wasn't then because you're telling me to do. You probably copying someone else. So I don't even know if you're living your truth. Because by you telling me that I need to do what you're doing, that is not something that sits well with me. That's why I ain't got friends that copy and what you wearing, because I feel like it's small things like that then escalate. It's like, why do I have to do what you do in order to be the best or to be at the same level as you? That doesn't make sense. And I feel like going back to that sort of burden, like a lot of the times before at work, I used to feel like a burden. I used to think, I'm gonna have to go in next day one wearing this head wrap, and these are just not gonna get it, and I need to be prepared. And it's crazy because even though I think like that, and I still kind of do somewhat, I just think to myself, it's even crazy I'm thinking like that.
Yeah.
Because I actually don't know where that feeling comes from. Like, maybe it's a product of an environment thing, so you've just grown up all your life and you've been thinking like that, and you've always been aware that you're a black girl. So, like, even when I decided to cut my hair off, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to explain this. Like, and it's like, Shan, why are you always questioning the things that you want to do for yourself? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and I feel like that's what being woke is also sort of helped to sort of escalate. It's like, now I think I'm awoke, but then I'm thinking, what the hell? Why am I even thinking that?
I think with the term woke, though, it means different things for different people.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's guys out there, like, I'm going to say it outright, people like Dr. Umar Johnson, right, and flooding my timeline, this guy, where for me, I don't want to hear anything he has to say, I'm not interested. Because for me, he ain't woke. That ain't woke to me. When you're trying to oppress a set of people because they don't fit into a particular box, like, you want to chat crap about them, to me, that's not what woke represents. But there's a whole community that will tell you this man is the wokest guy out there. He's like, if there's 1 to 5 stars of wokeness, he's at the 5. You know, so I think it's about, you know, when you were asking about the terminology and what exactly does it mean, I think it means different things to different people. Because for some people, is in order to be woke as a black woman, you need to dress like this, you need to look like that, you need to not date this kind of person, your clothes need to be this, you need to do this in the morning and this in the evening, you need to eat this type of food. But for me, woke means giving the autonomy to black women to be who they are. That's woke for me. So I'm just a bit like, this term is thrown around here, there and everywhere, and people are using the terminology woke or wokeness to oppress people within the black community, and that's problematic to me.
Do you think it's being attached to, because I think we've all probably experienced where some people are like, you're not black enough. It's that thing, right? It just feels like it's been attached to it.
I think it's like, what people ask is, what is your wokeness causing you to do, kind of thing. If your wokeness is causing you to change your appearance, then you're kind of half. But if your wokeness is like making you, it's like, to me, it's like, however more outrageous you can be, that's, you've reached the pinnacle of wokeness, which kind of doesn't make any sense, because the more you know, the more you realise how much you didn't know. And to me, it's like, I didn't always know what I know now. And that's because of experience, that's because of mistakes, and that's because of me accepting myself and learning to accept other people. But if you don't accept other people for where they are and what they believe in, it's like, we're never going to really, I don't know, move forward, because we're always trying to put people into boxes, which is why I feel we're so much into holding on to labels and holding, this is our word and this is what it means, and if you don't stick with it, it's like, well, the burden may come with, if you learn all this new information, you don't know what to do with it. Because I still got to go to work. I still got, really, I just want to, I'm looking for the next, like, how can I get out of this grid? How can I get out of the system? And I can't check out. I'm still a part of it. And that's what kind of frustrates me. I can't check out of it. And like you were saying, that can mess with your mental health, like living in this reality.
It's like the Matrix, like you said, right? Because this, I think...
Do you know what I mean? Like, and so I'm like, so when I've learned now, who's going to take me out of this? But the question is, like, how do you live in it? How do you live in it whilst being yourself and then still change it? That's really being woke. Not getting out of it, because you're not a part of it. Do you know what I mean? How can you do anything, or how can you change it when you're just saying, because that's what I see, is like people get further and further away from our reality, no matter what. I'm from London, I'm born here, like, I don't know any other existence. I'm not going to just go back to an African country because I don't know what African country I'm from. I'm not even going to go back to Jamaica because I'm not Jamaican like that. Do you know what I mean? I'm from this Western system, how corrupt it is, but I also still love it. Like, understanding the duality, that there is terrible stuff in there, but then there's really great stuff. And we have to kind of embrace all of it. I don't know why I actually said that. There probably was a point to it, but I don't remember the point.
I think whenever you get like a fresh perspective on something, right, usually you want to share that. You like learn something new. You're like, oh my god, like, I want to share this with people. This is like my new insight on the world. And I think with wokeness, people, the expectation is, if you're going to be so woke, then you then need, like, you've got a responsibility to challenge like the status quo. You've got to challenge things as they stand, because now that you know that, you've got to go out there and do stuff. Yeah, to an extent, I think, going back to what we were talking earlier about like activism, I think, you know, can you be woke and not do anything? I mean, I don't know. I'm not here to judge people's wokeness, but I think that there's, because of the expectation that comes with the new perspective that you've got, that's where this competitive element of levels of wokeness comes into things, and being vegan and doing all that. People feel like they need to like live up to this aspiration wokeness. For me, when I was thinking about the word burden, just to go back to that, and I think, I don't know, but I'm not the dictionary, but I think it is like carrying a heavy load, like to have some sort of heavy weight. Is having a new perspective, like I want to ask everyone, because I don't know, I've been trying to think about this all day, but it's having a fresh perspective on something, which is, I think, what wokeness kind of boils down to. Is that necessarily a heavy weight?
I think it's a bit of both, because even like the more I've learned, I remember, like I'm bald now, but when I used to go to the barbers, I remember getting into beef, because I would hear things around me, and because I've got this new perspective, and people are saying really harmful things about sections of the black community or, certain people, it was almost like, every fibre inside you will just not allow you to be quiet. And you want to be able to say, you know what, Richie, not today, chill, you just want to get your hair cut and go about your business. But when someone's saying something that's so ignorant, that's so harmful, the wokeness inside you will not let you sleep. So you really, and it got to a point, I was going to barber shops and they would talk when I walked in. And I don't do it like, you're chatting shit, I'm not that kind of person, but I question. Yeah. Okay, that's really interesting. You said that. But what about this? But what about in this situation? And have you considered this? Oh, but I heard you say that. And on the other hand, I've heard you say this. And the two don't go together. It gets to a point where it feels like a heavy weight. Because sometimes my body and my mind will not let me rest. Something is said. I've had to learn online. Richie, sometimes just don't be a keyboard warrior. Like, don't say nothing. Just keep your mouth shut. Keep your fingers to yourself. Because it gets to a point where you see so much rubbish that when you read it, and even if it's not about you, you feel pangs of hurt for the people that it is about. So you feel like you can't be silent. So on one hand, I think it's a beautiful thing. Just sitting in this room with you guys, I think it's a beautiful thing. Hearing your perspectives, those are really enriching, empowering things. And on the other hand, the burden is, sometimes I feel like I can't be quiet and I have to say something. And then after that situation's over, I'm just left feeling tired.
Yeah. And I agree with you. And like, I love having conversations like this. I can't do it online because there is so much of that, keyboard warriors who are they just say it just to say it. And like, that's the stuff when I read it, it just drove me crazy. And I was angry. And it's like, I don't even know them. It's like, how can it be?
Fight you on everything.
I've been dragged for 3 days. The top has probably been about over a week being dragged constantly. Tweet after tweet after tweet, just dragging me. So it is, I agree with you saying totally.
And social media as well, like I really enjoy like Twitter and Instagram and stuff. And LinkedIn, I love it so much,
It's my favourite social media. I'm weird.
But like, sometimes I'm just thinking, you know what? I feel like I'm the real me on social media and the real me in real life. So like, anything we're talking about here, I will still go out and tell you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I will never like sort of try and like, I don't know, sugarcoat things on social media. I never come across that I'm this person and I'm not. And I feel like a lot of people do that. They're two different people. So really, that person who's talking the most behind it, I don't even believe what they're saying. But to come to have a conversation, they're like, oh, you're right.
And that's the thing. But like,
and I didn't really mean it like that, because when I'm thinking, so what was this like? And like, it's so frustrating. And I've met so many of them now that only if you, like literally to that point, that fire thing we said, only if you've really aggravated me on Twitter, I'm going to give you my energy. Because more time, you don't even know what you're saying. Like, I can't even do it. And
isn't
then,
that social media though?
Yeah,
like, people live a different life.
It's true.
Outside of just their opinions, do people not live a separate life, or they put a different view? Or it's like, I guess it's like you project a certain image more so. Performative.
It's an aspiration. Well, I think the ones that I see as it's an aspiration. It's almost like they're living what they want to be living on social media, but then in real life, it's not that.
It's because they know that social media circle following them. There's a pressure to like impress them and say the right things, right?
And they get a sense of fulfillment from when people like.
And that's the thing. Like, it's so you can express your opinion in such an implicit way. You can like it, you can retweet it, you can do whatever. Whereas in person, a lot of those people wouldn't say those things. And I think that's when I meet someone and I see like their social and I just see something I don't agree with, I'm like, do I bring it up? Because I'm like, do I, like, it's one of those things. So I just end up unfollowing them or something because I can't.
I kind of wanted to jump in and say, when I was thinking about this and kind of where we are at the topic at the moment, what is the opposite of woke then? Because I feel like we've kind of been bouncing it around, and I was thinking about it earlier, and I kind of came up with there's social consciousness and there's a kind of apathy. And is it important to have a balance? Because it's like, you're going to get that, you don't want to affect your mental health. Do you need to respond to everything if you're woke? Like, and so it does, for me, it kind of feels like there needs to be some level of, do you know what, I don't care. Like, for me to be able to live my life, I kind of have to have a level of I don't care or apathy in a way. Or maybe you might have a different opinion of what is the opposite of woke.
I think the opposite is ignorance and being happy in that ignorance. Like, kind of knowing that there's something out there, there's something, but I'm not going to try and go there because I'm happy. Like, I'm just fine being the way I am, like, because I'm fine, which I think is different to people who are woke but don't need to shout about it. Because people have been woke before woke was woke. Do you know what I mean? Before social media and before the loud people on Twitter, there have been and there will be people being woke. Do you know what I mean? So it's like that difference between, because people do, well, you know, you didn't put up a picture of the little boy in the H&M with a crown on his jumper. Do you agree with it? Well, that's because I was living, right? Yeah. Like, we've all seen it. If everyone's put it, I'm assuming why should I put it up? Like, that has I don't have any pressure to defend myself to anybody because I don't care what you think. You know? But the opposite is, I think, that ignorance of, I know there's more, but I just don't want to get in, because if you get in, it's the pressure. It's that burden. Like, once you know, you can't go back. So I'd rather just not know. And
isn't that kind of consciousness, knowing that you don't want to get into it, if you know what I mean? Like, beyond that, is it like, I mean, sorry to borrow it from that movie, but like, is it a sunken place? Are you that so far deep? It's almost like I'm even oblivious, like that kind of oblivion.
I think it's complete unawareness. It's like, and I think that comes with a total level of privilege to be that unaware. What circles are you in if you can walk around like this to see anything? And I think that the opposite in that sense is like the height of privilege, to be that unaware.
And I think for some people they are aware, but you know, like I think some people live in the survival self. And it's a bit like, in order to survive and just get through the day, I've got to act like it's not there. And people who live like that, to make sure I'm okay, to be able to function day to day, and the cognitive dissonance will make them come online and argue with you. And they probably know what you're saying is right, they probably know what's going on isn't right. But you know what, to protect myself and to protect my sanity, I'm just going to act like it's not happening. I'm going to convince myself that you're wrong. And sometimes that's a survival self. People act out as a way of surviving. So for me, rather than get angry, what I've tried to do now is maybe try and understand why someone might be coming from that perspective. I've probably got too much timelines. So sometimes I go to their timeline, I scroll through and I'm like, okay, I can see, I can maybe see what's going on for you, you know? This isn't about me. Not today, Richie. I close down their profile and I go,
You know what, I think, so at the university that I went to, there were people who said exactly that. You know, to get through this uni and to actually do the degree that I'm here to do, to live my life, I'm just going to pretend I can't see this. So I haven't got time to challenge everything. If I was challenging everything, there's no way I could finish uni. And I think a lot of people do actually live their life like that, to think, you know what, for my personal sanity and for me to achieve what I'm here to achieve, I just need to pretend this isn't there, so I'm going to get too over.
You see, like, I think in that sense, like with uni, obviously there's an end goal, because obviously they're trying to finish uni, and I hear that. But for people to genuinely live their life and to constantly block it out, that doesn't sit right with me, because I feel like, and that's when I have problems with, like, you kind of mentioned it before, like when you're at work and there's other people of colour, and it's like, so you didn't see that, and you're not going to be like, what? I'm confused here, like, what's going on? And then it becomes this place where you're just like, wait, actually, this isn't about them, as in like white people, because there's people like yourself who are literally just taking it, and you've got nothing to say, you've got no opinion, you think it's not wrong, you think it's not right, and it's like, now I've got to challenge you and them, and it's like, for me, there's a problem with that sort of passiveness. If there's an end goal, and there's a survival state, and it's like, okay, you know what, in order for me to sort of finish uni, or in order for me to get through college, or in order for me to pass this promotion, or something like that, I understand the level of thinking, but to just actually live your life as someone who decides not to retaliate to something that is entirely against you is crazy to me.
One thing that's quite interesting, so like I'm from Bradford and there's not that many black people there. So if you're black, people assume you're Jamaican. It's still like, it can still be
what's
that
your
way.
name? That's what they say first. What's your name?
Yeah.
Like, oh.
But when I go back, like, I have some friends who are black, and when I think about it, they probably would detach themselves from it because there isn't enough support around to back up the argument when it's just them in a room full of white people, you know?
Or just a room full of non-black people.
Yeah.
If they're in a room full of South Asian people, you're still receiving the same thing.
Yeah.
For me, what's interesting then, I guess, in trying to look at the flip side of woke, and I guess there has to be a distinction between someone who is completely unaware of maybe some of the machinations or the things that are happening behind the scenes, and then someone that is on a different maybe political spectrum or sees the world from a different perspective. And I think that's where it gets into the area of that gray zone, because someone might have there might be an incident that happens in the community. You see it from this perspective, they see it from another perspective, and then it's a point where, okay, we don't agree. Doesn't necessarily mean that that person is unaware or asleep to the situation.
They just don't agree with you.
They just don't agree with your perspective, and I guess it's the point where I read some of these articles, and I think it can be divisive at certain points, the way it's painted, in the sense that you have to have this particular view, you have to correspond with all of these opinions, or you're what do they say, Uncle Tom, you're a coon. And I think that goes back to is very destructive to conversation, because conversation is fantastic, and you can, maybe if you don't change an opinion, at least you can hear something else, because there can be a danger of echo chamber, hive mind, and no one's really challenging your perspective. If you believe in something and you think it's true, you should be able to, obviously Twitter is what Twitter is, but if you find the person who's willing to converse with you and has an opposite view, then your view will be challenged one way or the other, and then you'll know who you learn something from that experience. And I think for me, what annoys me with, I guess, some of the wokeness is, I guess there is also the spiritual side of it. During my manic episode, I was kind of going down a particular rabbit hole. It was all about Egypt and the Ankhs and the, the people that changed their name, Amen Ra, and all this and that. And I was with that. That was where my mind was. I went to Liverpool to the International Slavery Museum. I was looking at the exhibit, and something in my soul, I saw the KKK costume in front of me, and then they had the reparations march, or what? There was a march on August 23rd, and I was front and center, like the pride in me. But then, got section came out, and a lot of those things that I was studying was kind of gone. And as I kind of absorbed information again, it's like, oh yeah, this is the kind of line and information that I was reading and discovering. So it is almost like my mind was wiped at one point. And I guess I can't really avoid it. It's that matrix situation where, let's say, the individual that wanted to go back in is like, I don't like this. I don't like knowing all of this. I like living in that blissful ignorance. And I guess my experience of being section, medication, everything, it wiped it. And I was back in kind of a default mode to rebuild. But I eventually found myself back to where I was in terms of those views and everything. So it was almost unavoidable. But I think ultimately when it comes to woke and trying to think about the opposite of it, I think we have to, for better or for worse, accept that once the momentum shifts and pop culture gets a hold of the word, because there's no one can really control it. Once it gets into that sphere, people are going to use it in a trivial way, in a jokey way, and then it loses any kind of credibility. I saw an article today, they were talking about Me Too, and then woke this, woke that, and okay, so it's almost been diluted, and it's losing its sense of anything. It's just something you throw there now. So I guess thinking 5-10 years now, I wonder, is this terminology still going to be exist, or will it morph into something else?
Because that was, I think people have always been woke, but now we've just got a different label for what that is, right? I want to go back to before when we talked about how being woke makes you tired. It's tiredness from fighting and from seeing the world in a different way. And if we say that the opposite, what is the opposite of wokeness? I don't necessarily think it's to be like then full of energy. Energized. But I do think that there are people who aren't woke, perhaps like they don't need to see the world the way that I think all of us in this room would agree that we see structural inequality and we do want to challenge it, we do want to do something about it. But I do think it means that you can live in this bubble where the world perhaps to you looks like a nicer place. And I think for me, in my own journey of wokeness, like when did that bubble burst of what the world looked like? I think you're a child. I knew that the world wasn't great, but I still had blissful ignorance as a child as to what exactly were the problems.
Does anyone sometimes wish they don't know all that they know?
Oh my! Do you know what? As you was talking, I thought the same thing. Like I see people who are blissfully ignorant, and I'm almost jealous, of the way they're just floating. Like I'm just this, I'm just there, nothing really more. Like sometimes I wish that I didn't know because you see, it's not innocence. That's not the word I'm looking for. It's that blissful ignorance where it's just flying over your head and there's no emotional reaction to it. It's kind of like, don't worry about that. It's what it is. And there's a blessing in being able to recognize it. But also sometimes I'm being transparent. Sometimes I feel jealous of how they're able to just flow through things.
It sounds like there's an oblivion. Like that's what it sounds like you guys are talking about. And in that case, it kind of feels very closely related to privilege. And if it's related to privilege, obviously we can definitely go into like the layers of black and ethnic minority and like how much you're able to kind of be privileged. I mean, we definitely need to tackle that kind of, I guess, area. But it sounds like, can white people be woke? Like, and if they can be woke, like, I mean, basically, can they be woke? And the same level that we can be woke, can they ever be that woke?
I think a white person's experience and a black person's experience will always be different. And a white person needs to recognise that. So when we are saying that we're woke and they're saying that they're woke, if in that conversation they're like, I'm just as woke as you. Okay, now that's it. It's like, okay, now babes. You know what I mean? Because I feel like there are white people that are very aware of institutional racism, that are aware of white patriarchy, that are aware of privilege, and they are privileged, and they are actively doing something. Like I see, there are some people like that, and I also know some black privileged people that just don't do anything because they think they're cool. And it's mad to me, like they're like, wow, I never went through that, I didn't lie until I was 19, and I was like, oh wow. So it's like, for me, I just feel like there's levels of an understanding because, like me, my black British has come from a Jamaican heritage experience. No one can tell me, especially come from Birmingham. So like anyone who ever tries to challenge that and is not me, like from that, can never say, oh yeah, but I know just as well as you live like that. But no, you don't, because you're not me and you haven't had my experience. And I feel like that's when it comes with when white people try to claim this idea of, oh yeah, I know about the black experience and I know what you're going through. Don't worry, like I can, it's like, but do you? Like I understand that you're an ally to our experience, and I understand that there are certain things that you may go through. So, for example, maybe people who are mixed race and a white woman who, like Colin Kaepernick is a really good example. His mom, when I read her interviews, like she was telling him like your experience is going to be different, but she's a white lady, and it's like maybe she knows that because she was with a black man. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's different experiences that those people go through, and I feel like as black people, we need to be aware of that also, because a lot of the time it's like we end up in this, I call it the idea of privilege, where it's like, now I'm black, I know, and you can just never tell me about anything. And it's like, really? Like, come on, like, everyone has their own experience, and I feel like, again, that there's a level of wokeness, and there's levels of privilege, and there's levels of obviously whatever everyone has gone through, and I feel like that level of understanding needs to always be there, because wokeness, white people can definitely be woke, but they can't claim that they're as woke as the black person next to them.
It's like men feminism.
Yeah.
Like, as a man, you can align yourself with feminism. I say I align myself with feminism and feminist ideals. I'd never be like, I'm a feminist.
Yeah.
As a man, I can't claim that.
Yeah.
I can't walk around, and a lot of men use it as a way to get a step up or a way to try and get women. I use that. So I think there's a similarity between the two. I can align myself with feminist ideals, but I'll never run around and be like, yes, well, as a feminist, and I know more about feminist literature than you do. I'd never do that. It's not my place. I sit and listen.
I think, because I understand what you're saying, like you're doing that to be respectful of women, but I think there's nothing wrong with you. You're a feminist. There's nothing wrong with you saying that you're a feminist, because it's not about claiming the oppression. It's not saying that I'm the oppressed person. Wokeness isn't necessarily about being the subject. It's about being aware that these things exist. And I think there are loads of white people that, because I don't see it as a level thing. If we said it's not levels, so I think white people are just as woke, can be just as woke as black people from a different. They're coming from a different perspective, but I don't think there's, in terms of just these words of woke and like say feminism, I don't know. I think there's a difference because I think we use this argument with talking about oppression and you'll never understand. Yeah, I get that, but that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about being aware. They can be aware.
I think it's when we, like you mentioned earlier about the origins of the word sort of coming in popular culture from Erica Badu and sort of originating from this culture of blackness. And I think it's when white people start to claim things as theirs and then to take ownership over rights. So like this thing that came from being black, now it is mine and I'm going to take that and it's mine. When you appropriate wokeness and make it like we're now the leaders of wokeness, I think that's a problem. And
on that note, sorry to put that in there. Don't put that on me now. But yeah, no, on that note, I kind of feel like we had a really great discussion. And I guess we kind of got to leave it there. Thanks for coming, guys. Bye.